Hello and welcome back to LEGO Wars and Heat D of the series. Last week we had wall-to-wall action as Pain made their mark on the series with a string of destructive knockouts. In fact, it's been over a heat since we required the judges. That may change with tonight's lineup as we see the return of the 7th seeds, the grabbing Chompy Evo, alongside the Prince of Peck, the 14th seeds Mingo. Let's see who will join them tonight.
First, from Brisbane in Australia and seeded number 7, Chompy Evo.
The grabber from down under returns with a new ambitious 4-bar suplexing setup to finally crack the top 4.
From Bristol and seeded number 14, Mingo.
The dual pecker did well to make the top 16 last year, but question marks remain over the power of those beaks.
From Florida in the USA, Hypershock.
The yellow vert has underwhelmed in previous appearances, but that new dual blade setup looks promising.
From Warrington, Flashover 360.
After their decimation at the hands of White Hole at the qualifiers, Flashover has come back with their own full body spinner designed to dish out the damage.
From Hinkley, 23 Red.
A new machine to the series, but heavily inspired by their classic Robot Wars counterpart, 23 Red is the first machine to bring 2 independent spinning weapons to the arena. Let's begin the action with the 7th seeds taking on the new Flashover 360.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
So, the number 7 seeds Chompy returning to the main competition this time around. Flashover 360. The original Flashover, remember, got absolutely pulled apart by a White Hole in the qualifying rounds of the last wars. Well, if you can't beat them, join them, I say. They return as a full-bodied spinner, but Chompy having no problems grabbing a hold of it and stopping that spinner. Getting those claws in. Chompy, of course, vastly improved since the last wars. It has a grabbing, lifting suplexer now. We saw it do well in the International Championships earlier on this year. Had great fun throwing block of napalm around. I'm sure many of you have fond memories of it doing that. I know I certainly do. Flashover 360 being pinned in again by the grabbers of Chompy. Chompy definitely doing a good job of managing to grab a hold of it and stopping that spinner from spinning, but not doing too good at the suplexing. The pit button has been pressed, and Flashover 360 is right on the verge of that pit, and they're not even closer now. And surely it's not much longer until Chompy is able to get them down the pit, or is it? What's going on here with Chompy? I think they're struggling to get grip. I think they're getting themselves caught on the arena floor, actually, yes. Those forks are far too low for their own good. Fantastic. So, not only is it not able to lift anything in this battle, but it can barely move in a straight line. Fantastic. Brilliant. Just what we needed. Ah, well, still, it's able to come in, and they've actually managed to now free Flashover 360. So they've done the complete opposite of what they were actually meant to do there. Flashover 360, meanwhile, I think having complete and utter control issues. They can't seem to get away from there at all. And have practically thrown themselves into the pit. Well, obviously they were getting bored. Chompy couldn't do the job for them, so they did it for them instead. And they are finally in, falling apart as they hit the bottom of the pit. That was a weird fight, it really was. So, Flashover 360 looked impressive to start off with a good hit there, but for some reason the spinner never really worked after that. Chompy did good work, managing to control the fight and using those grabbing lifters to their best strength. They weren't able to get a lift in though, and I wonder if that's a problem that they're going to have throughout this heat. Flashover 360 people had complete control problems all the way throughout the fight, eventually throwing themselves into the pit, helped in a little bit by Chompy. Chompy get 3 points.
It's a good thing Flashover has another chance to fight after that opening performance. Next up it's the 14th seeds Mingo against Hypershock.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Great to see the return of the number 14 seeds, two-headed Death Flamingo with the peckers and the control and the drive and the ability to knock off its own panels apparently. Hypershock meanwhile getting that spin up to speed. Hypershock of course renowned for being absolutely useless in LEGO Wars, although they've managed to get an attack in there finally! Have they finally managed to get that design working? Every time we've seen Hypershock so far in LEGO Wars, it's barely worked and lost in a ball of its own fire. So it's great to see it actually doing something for a change, although Mingo, for me, is on the aggressive at the moment and using that pecker. There's a good tactic there, actually. Look at that. Fantastic work. Using one of the heads to stop the spinner and then bringing the other one in to cause damage. Unfortunately doing more damage to itself than its opponent, it must be said, but still, damage is damage, who cares? Apart from the judges, obviously. The pit button press, oh, and Hypershock nearly went down the pit. Good control there by Hypershock. And they proved that they are well controlled by driving even closer towards it, because they want to shut me up, apparently. Down comes the axe once again, and Hypershock, as much as I praised them earlier for finally actually seeming to get a hell of things. Oh, wait a minute! Mingo! What are they doing? They've nearly thrown themselves into the pit, and if Hypershock can turn around now, they could have a huge upset on their hands, and a big whopping 3 points. Mingo can't get away from there, I don't think. I think they're done for. This is Hypershock's to win, surely. They're already having control problems again, but they finally managed to kill it around and get Mingo down the pit. Brilliant win there for Hypershock. Well, it started well for Mingo, apart from them knocking off their own panels, but they definitely were on the aggressive and the more controlled throughout. Sure, Hypershock did start well there, look, with that good hit and that good push, but they very soon after seem to be having the same control issues they've had all the time in the past. But they didn't have anywhere near as many control issues as Mingo. First, not only did they do damage themselves, but then they got caught on the pit, and they went down. Hypershock get a whopping 3 points, that's a surprise.
I wonder if we're in for a night of questionable driving as Hypershock picks up a fortuitous win. The higher seeds are back in action now as we see the debut of 23 Red.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Chompy maybe the seeds here, but they might be a little bit worried going in against this newcomer. It's a frightening looking newcomer, isn't it? 23 Red with those 2 spinners. Definitely taking the idea of 2 is better than 1 very much to heart, although a little bit just broke off of their spinner there, I think, and I think that spin is now unbalanced. Not too sure. They actually taken inspiration from another robot that's well known from Robot Wars, though I, for the life of me, can't place my finger on who it could possibly be. Anyway, Chompy has lost one of its forks, and some other bits have crumpled away there as they attempted to attack 23 Red. 23 Red going for those tyres. Those tyres, of course, very exposed. Pit button pressed down. Oh, goodness me! A piece of Chompy went flying out of the arena. Did you see that? And that lifting mechanism is all of a sudden looking very frail and very damaged. They're already struggling to lift robots in as heat as it is, and I think that's been made completely worse by that very scary spinner on 23 Red. Look there, look, you can see, look at the forks on the front of it. They've just been bent and mangled. They are managing to bring those fangs down, those gnashers down, but it's not causing any damage, and without the lift they really are struggling. More damage under the front of Chompy as well. 23 Red, this is a good looking newcomer to this series of LEGO Wars. Inexperience doesn't always do you a favour, but those 2 spinners certainly are. Chompy manages to grab a hold of them again, but they're just not able to do anything with them because their bottom forks have been absolutely ruined. They can't gain the purchase. More pieces going flying out the arena as well. Could 23 Red be a dark horse for this? Goodness me, more! Look at that! Both forks now completely gone. So Chompy has completely lost its lifting power. All it's got now is the grabbers, which are still a good weapon, but the wheel has now been ripped straight off. And can they get another good hit like that in again and take off the other wheel? We've only once seen 2 wheels get completely pried off, and that was when 2 and a Def Flamingo went up against 2 Jeff 2 Fabulous in the bracket last time around. But Chompy now managing to use those claws to grab a hold of the spinner. See, those claws, they're still very effective despite not having any lift now. Those grabbers can still grab a hold of them, and as you can clearly see, they are capable of moving out of their circumference area, so they will not be counted as a mobile. That is an impeccable part of the design of Chompy, actually. They've made the wheelbase very wide, so they can continue out of their circumference zone with only 1 wheel. But I think the damage has been telling enough for this one as we go into the final second. Cease called. Chompy, a brave effort certainly, but I think the newcomers may have just pipped them on this one. Only just, though. What an impressive debut for 23 Red, not only taking off one of the forks there, but sending bits and pieces flying out of the arena. This this series is slowly but surely becoming very dangerous, actually. Chompy, though, you've got to give it to the number 7 seeds. They didn't give up at all, really, despite losing the lifting mechanism. They did bring those grabbers in several times, and even after losing a wheel, they were still able to continue until the judge's decision, even though they did nearly pit themselves. But I'm pretty certain the damage alone has won this one for 23 red.
And the winner by unanimous decision is 23 red. A brilliant win for the rookies has really thrown a spanner in the works for predictions this heat. We'll let Chompy get patched up as we move on to fight 4 of the night between Hypershock and Flashover 360.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
So it's come down to this, a fight between two of the most unreliable robots in LEGO Wars history. Hypershock Spinner spinning up to speed, the quicker of the two by far, and by that I mean Flashover still hasn't started spinning it, now it finally has, but every time it comes into contact with Hypershock's front plough, it stops spinning. Hypershock Spinner, meanwhile, hasn't done, well, anything in this fight, and again seems to be struggling with control issues. There we go, they managed to go in a straight line there. One of those rear wheels is looking a little bit buckled though, courtesy of Flashover 360. Flashover 360 not doing anything now though. It really is a shame, you know, they come up with a much improved looking machine. It looks a lot cleaner, a lot nicer, a lot sturdier, but they just can't get it to move in a straight line. Come on, lads! Give us some excitement, give us some destruction. Come on, Hypershock, you got a limping opponent here. Do something. Anything. Please, I'm begging you here. Goodness me. So at least I'm getting paid to watch this. Down goes the pit, courtesy of Hypershock. Flashover 360 going to put me out my misery and throw themselves in it. No, not on this attempt. Of course they don't. Not when I want them to, anyway. Hypershock has stopped in the middle of the arena. Has it died once again? I think so. Oh no, little jolt of life there. And finally some damage done! As the front plough of Hypershock has been completely ripped away there into 2 parts. Now can Hypershock do anything here? They're going to use their rear bumper to try and ram Flashover 360 to the sidewall and stop that spin, and that's good tactics there by the Hypershock team. Can they capitalise on the fact that Flashover 360 is not spinning and use those big 4 grippy tyres to push them into the pit? I don't think so. They're going towards pit themselves now. What are they doing? Running away by the looks of things, allowing Flashover 360 to get up to speed. That's not what you want to do, boys. Not at all. Oh, more damage. Oh!
6.
And now they throw themselves down the pit. Because of course they do. I'm not really sure what I just watched, but I think the term battle would be very, very generous. Flashover managed to do a little bit of damage there to one of the wheels of Hypershock. And then did nothing. Hypershock did, well, nothing really. And then finally some damage was done as Hypershock had its front plough ripped off, and then it drove down the pit.
Excellent pitting there for the full body spinner as they pick up their first competitive win. Now it's Mingo's chance to get off the foot of the table against the impressive rookies 23 red.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
If I was two-headed the Flamingo, I'd be a little bit worried in this fight. We saw how easily Chompy was mullered, and they had exposed wheels and front framing as well. So, of course, Mingo could well be on the receiving end of more damage from those destructive spinners of 23 red. And we've already seen bits fly across the arena now. Mingo, though, using those peckers to good effect there, actually, able to get a hold of them and stop both spinners. Off comes the top panel, though. The top panel has fallen off of Mingo. The damage is starting to tally up already, but to be fair to two-headed the Flamingo, they're not backing away until that moment when they go for the pit. But I tell you what, 23 red were very, very lucky not to fall down the pit there. They just managed to get out of the way in time. I love those little axes on two-headed the Flamingo. I'm not really too sure how much damage they actually do, but I guess they score good aggression points. That wheel got snagged there by the spinner of 23 red. No real damage was done though. They can't really seem to get those two spinners up to speed properly at the same time. They seem to alternate between the two of them depending on what way the robot is facing. And, well, what mood they're in really. But two-headed the Flamingo now managing to get on the side and very nearly getting 23 red down the pit. Two-headed Flamingo is not the most destructive of machines, but it is very sturdy, it's very reliable, and it is very well controlled and very well driven. And with good driving and good control, they could still get a win in here. I would say it would be an upset for them to win, really, but they are actually the favourites going into this one, being the number 14 seeds against an outsider and a rookie. But it is a dangerous and very effective rookie at that. Oh, dearie me. More damage done. The front panels have come off. The back panels come off. And Two-headed Flamingo is slowly but surely being ripped apart into 1,000 pieces. But they are still in the running here. More damage done there to that front wing. But they haven't died yet, or have they? Nope, they are still moving. There is still mobility in those tyres. But for me, 23 Red are definitely on top at the moment, and if this was to go to the judges, would win. Although damage has now been done to 23 Red, courtesy of Two-headed Flamingo. Though I'll be honest, I don't think it was purposeful, and I'm almost certain it was a complete fluke. Look at the speed of that spinner on 23 Red, getting a bit too close to the pit though. More damage done, and that time it definitely was the axe of Two-headed Flamingo. And with a bit of pushing, they've got them down the pit, and that's a 3-point win for the number 14 seeds. That was a really good fight. Lots of damage caused by 23 Red early on. The top panel went, some of the front rigging went. Two-headed Flamingo had good control throughout, though. You can't deny that. They went for the pit button there, look, and 23 Red were lucky to get off the pit before it went down. They used those peckers to a good use throughout the fight. But I honestly thought 23 Red had this, especially here with all the damage being caused to Mingo. But then Mingo, out of nowhere, were able to get them into the pit. Great stuff.
That late pitting for the 14th seeds makes Heat D the most open of the series so far. We shall see if that trend continues as Chompy Evo takes on Hypershock.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Chompy, the first out of the starting gates. The favourites to win here, the seeds, the highest seed of the heat, number 7 seed, of course. Hypershock spinner spinning up to speed and stopping immediately. Chompy now grabbing a hold of that front plough of Hypershock. Has that plough been fixed properly? It does seem to be a lot sturdier at the moment. Speaking of sturdy, can we finally see a good lift here from Chompy? No, those lifters have not been as effective as they were in the international special earlier on this year. Chompy being pushed a little bit there by Hypershock. Hypershock have got the grippy wheels, the 4-wheel drive. Chompy have got the grabbers and the lifters. And for me, the more controlled and the more aggressive of these two at the moment. There hasn't really been much damage. Hypershock has got the more damaging weapon, but I don't think it's working, you know. It hasn't spun for a long time. Something not working in Hypershock? Well, I never. Well, they've gone for the pit button, though, so they must be confident they can push them down the pit. Chompy, meanwhile, nearly getting Hypershock into the pit there. Hypershock, they were able to back away, coming in for a little push of their own. Chompy backing away now from the pit as well, realising they were in danger. That's good tactics, good control. That front plough of Hypershock seems to have been pried out of position. Backing across the arena floor. Now, did you notice there? Look, they got a little bit stuck against the arena floor. And I'm wondering if Hypershock's back panel has beached its rear wheels off the floor here. And that might be why they haven't got the pushing power we were expecting. And if that is the case, that means that their power will have severely been impeded. Look, yes, you can see, look there, the back panel against the arena floor. And Hypershock's wheels are spinning wildly and unable to get any grip. That will severely impede their power and will make Chompy surely a favourite to win this one now. Let's be real, it was a favourite to win anyway, being honest. Now they're getting underneath Hypershock again with those lifters, grabbing a hold of them, trying to lift them up into the air. But again, those lifters, they just don't seem to have the oomph that they had in the International. I wonder if there's a problem with them. They've had a problem all the way through this heat. They were mullered earlier on by 23 Red, don't forget. And I'm wondering if they haven't been fixed properly since then. Hypershock, of course, well, it's always riddled with problems, but its main problem at the moment is the fact its weapon isn't spinning and its rear panel is not in the correct place, therefore negating its rear wheels. Off comes one part of that front plough of Hypershock, and that there is the most damage done. So for me now, Chompy winning all 3 categories if this was to go to the judges. If it does go to the judges, I think it will be at this rate because neither machine has really had an impactful attack on the other. Chompy unable to use those lifters to great effect. They see that they managed to lift them about an inch off the floor, and that's about it. Good push there, though. It's going to go to the judges, this one. We're into the final 5 seconds now. That wasn't the most enthralling of LEGO Wars fights, I must admit. But it has gone to the distance, and it will go to the judges. Well, Chompy were definitely the more aggressive. They got more weapon usage, certainly, using those grabbers and those clampers. Hypershock used good tactics there to go for the pit button, but never really capitalised on it because their drive was impeded by their rear panel. Chompy, in my opinion, were the more controlled throughout as well. And, of course, they also managed to cause the most damage, eventually managing to break off part of Hypershock's plough just there, look. For me, this is an easy win for Chompy, but it wasn't the most convincing of wins.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Chompy Evo. Where was I? Oh yeah, Chompy Evo edged closer to the round of 32. Now it's 3rd and 4th place against one another with Flashover 360 and Mingo.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
I don't think Two to Death Flamingo really have any worries here. As long as they can keep on Flashover 360, that spinner there should not spin up to speed. And Mingo will be able to use their control and their aggression and their precision driving to get them towards the pit and in it. Because let's be honest here, Flashover 360 has been a huge disappointment. Mingo immediately hitting the pit release button. I think they're looking to just get this over with as quickly as possible, and rightfully so. Grabbing a hold now, using those peckers to get a hold of Flashover 360, which, let's be honest, the body spins around more than the actual shell does, which is the complete opposite thing you want to happen when you have a full body spinner. Look at it, it's just spinning around underneath the shell. What's the point? Well, I commend them for entering something different and actually being a complete rebuild of their robot after they got absolutely trashed in the last series, but all in all, it hasn't exactly worked for them, and they're in the pit. And that was over very, very quickly. Highlights, well, were there any? Flashover 360 did nothing but spin around on the spot. Mingo went for the pit button. You know it's bad when a pit run hit is one of the highlights of the fight. Mingo managed to use those peckers to good use once again, grabbing a hold of the shell and eventually steering Flashover 360 into the pit.
A beautifully controlled performance from the 14th seeds to shoot themselves into a strong position while Flashover 360 looks in danger. Now it's Hypershock's last chance to put in a good performance in the heat against 23 Red.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
So, place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. The newcomer with the destructive flywheels or the veteran that doesn't do anything. I think I know who my money's on, but still. Oh! Hypershock! Shutting me up straight away and causing damage there to 23 Red. Will Hypershock now finally show us what it's made of? Not by the evidence of that, as it has its front plough caved in, and that means now I think their spinner has been blocked, and by that plough of theirs, the other bit of the plough goes flying across the arena as well. Now that means that their spinner is free to spin, but I don't think it's working. A little twitch here, a little twitch there, but unfortunately the rest of their robot is everywhere. Goodness me. 23 Red, a very destructive newcomer. I look forward to seeing this in the bracket. I'm pretty certain we're going to be seeing it in the bracket. It does need a win here, actually, in order to successfully get into the bracket. They're not through for definite yet. The pit has gone down. Hypershock must be confident they can get them down the pit, or maybe they're hoping they can throw themselves in there. I think that's what they're intending to do, to be honest. Although maybe they're changing their minds. They have got good drive and good push, don't forget, so they should, by all logic, if they can get a good bit of control in there, get 23 down the pit. But unfortunately, the idea of Hypershock and control in the same sentence, at least as LEGO Wars is concerned, doesn't really work. Hypershock, though, are on the aggressive and pushing them back. So, this isn't over yet, this fight. But that spinner there certainly has seen better days, although it is starting to spin up to speed, so they might still have a chance. Or do they? I think it's been unbalanced. I think something came flying off it, and that means the spinner is now unbalanced. 23 Red, meanwhile, By far the more destructive of these two machines. More damage, look there, and I think now the bracket holding the spinner in place has been shattered, and if that's the case, that spin is completely done for. And 23 Red are slowly but surely pulling apart the BattleBots veterans here, and doing a very good job in doing it. But you got to give credit to Hypershock where credit is due. They're still in this fight, and they're still coming in on the attack. Normally Hypershock barely work and they're out in a matter of moments, but in this heat, to be fair, they have performed much better than usual. They've lasted to the end a few times, and if they go the distance here despite the damage taken, that will be worthy of a round of applause in my opinion. They've definitely come back improved, and I hope they've improved it even more for the next series. I don't think they're going to be getting through to the bracket, not unless they can pull off a miraculous KO win here, because this is all 23 Reds fight so far for me. But still, credit where credit is due. They're being aggressive, they're still on the offensive, they're still trying, and it looks like they're going to go the distance. We're into the final 7 seconds. Will Hypershock survive, or will they throw themselves down the pit? No, they are still in it, and in my opinion, they finished the fight as the aggressor. Fair play. 23 Red, certainly for me, how the winners here. They have to be. But in all fairness, despite all the damage dealt, 23 Red were not able to finish off Hypershock, and Hypershock were the aggressors towards the end of that fight. No matter how much anyone would like to dispute it, it just is a fact. Despite the damage caused to them, and despite how horrendously damaged they were throughout, they were at least on the attack towards the end. Fair play to them there. They deserve our respect for that.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is 23 Red. Another good performance from the rookies, but their inability to knock out Hypershock has left them below the yellow peril, and they could be on their way out if they don't score well in their next fight against Flashover 360.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
You've got to feel bad for Flashover 360 here, because they're up against 23 Red and those two devilish spinning flywheels. Although fair play to Flashover 360, they're spinning up to speed very quickly here. They're keeping that spinner spinning well as well, so who knows, we could still see that performance from them finally. It would be nice to see them get a consolation victory here. We know they've already managed to secure 3 points somehow in this heat, but it would be nice to see them get some more here if they could. 23 Red are pretty much guaranteed in the bracket unless they severely lose here. They lose via KO here, they could still not make it. One of the teeth of Flashover 360 to just go flying though. So for me, 23 Red have caused the most damage. The pit button's been pressed, and down goes the pit. Flashover 360 spinner, to be fair, is not unbalanced, although once again they seem to be having control problems with that spinner of theirs. Can 23 Red now capitalise on this and get another KO victory? Trying to cause more damage, now more teeth coming off. I think that's both the teeth on Flashover 360 gone, so without those I don't think they can really cause any damage to 23 Red. So surely now 23 Red are by far on top, and all it really now is a question of damage limitation. But to be fair to Flashover 360, that shell of theirs is very, very sturdy. It hasn't been anywhere near as damaged as their predecessor was, so they've definitely got the robust side of things down right. If they can just get a little bit more control of the thing, they might actually have a serious contender one day. But at the moment, this is all 23 Red, the aggression, the control, and the damage. Especially the damage, that's what we like to see in LEGO Wars. Destruction and mayhem. Flashover 360 coming in on the attack though, and in on the aggressive. So don't count them out just yet. We could still have an upset on our hands here. The pit is yawning open, don't forget, and a well-timed push could well see them go down the pit. Two-headed Death Flamingo proved earlier that it is an easy robot to push down into that pit of oblivion. Flashover 360 spent more time in that pit than they have in the actual arena at this point, I think, though, so who knows. Flashover 360 now getting itself up to speed. I think that's the fastest we've seen that spinner spin so far. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Flashover 360 looking like a very fearsome machine. Where was this 3 fights ago? My goodness me! Damage being done out of 23 Red as well. 23 Red having bits and pieces ripped away now. And all of a sudden, Flashover 360 looking terrifying. And now the spin has stopped again. Oh, well, it was fun while it lasted at least. Oh, wait, no, are they going to... No, that spinner definitely doesn't seem to want to spin back up to speed. 23 Red still on top for me. And Flashover 360 are near the pit. Flashover 360 have managed to last a good while here. In fact, they're going to last to the end unless Flashover go down the pit, but they're not going to. And fair play to them, they managed to go the distance there. But I think that's a pretty obvious win for 23 Red. But we'll see what the judges think after the highlights. 23 Red definitely caused the most damage, in my opinion, throughout that fight, taking off the teeth of Flashover 360, which, let's be honest, is far more serious damage. But fair play to Flashover 360. They did manage to cause some bits of damage here and there, and they actually got their spinner up to speed pretty well at one point, and they went the distance as well, so you can't really knock them there. And looking back at these highlights, this might be a little bit closer than I thought it was. I wonder what the judges are going to make of it.
And the winner by split decision is 23 Red. And by one of the tightest of margins, 23 Red takes 2 points to put them third place overall in the heat and can sign Flashover 360 to the foot of the table. Now all that remains for this heat is who will finish first. Let's see which seed will take it.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
So here we are with the final battle of this heat. The two seeded machines clashing. The number 7 seeds Chompy, the number 14 seeds Two-Headed Flamingo. Both of them have performed reasonably well to get this far, but they have had a few losses as well. In fact, being honest, they haven't had the most convincing of wins either, really. I'd actually say these two machines, Mingo's been the more impressive so far in this heat, but who knows? Who knows? After all, these are two very different robots. Both of them well matched for one another. Mingo coming in on the back now, bringing in those axes. Now that's a good tactic, using one axe to hold Chompy in place and the other one to bring in the damage. That's very, very impressive. But I'm not too sure how much damage was done there. Chompy, what are you doing? Why are you lifting air? You're not meant to lift air, you're meant to lift them. Oh, your opponents! And they've nearly thrown themselves into the pit again, but they managed to get away there. Now on the verge of the pit again. That wing caught on the pit, but able to get away again there. Two-Headed Flamingo. Good control, good driving. At the moment, they're on top for me at this point. They've done the more work with their weaponry. They've been the more aggressive. They've been the more controlled, I'd say. Although they did nearly throw themselves in the pit just now, so what do I know? Chompy coming in once again with those grabbers, trying to now maybe lift them, but again, not managing to, although damage done there, courtesy of the lifters. They were able to grab a hold of one of those wings and pluck it off, which is very, very cruel. Please don't tell Peter that we just ripped off a flamingo's wing. They will ban us for life. Please, please, I'm begging you here. Anyway, now, can Chompy do the same with the other wing? Surely not. They're attempting to, though, but again, those lifters, they just don't seem to have the power behind them this time around, and I don't know why. And for me, Mingo are on top here. This hasn't been the most enthralling of battles, has it? I must be honest. But neither machine really aiming for a destructive win here. Both machines, I think, are so far through, so it is really just a case of who gets the more points and gets a higher seeding in the overall bracket between the two of them. And at this rate, I'd say Mingo might just be getting it, although the damage has been done by Chompy. Chompy being pushed back now. Those arena spikes haven't worked at all in this heat, I don't think. Yes, we do have arena spikes still, guys. Don't worry. I don't think they've worked. Oh, Mingo! Nearly down the pit there and throwing part of its bodywork into the pit. I don't think that counts as in the pit, to be fair. This battle's been very tedious at the moment. And once again, Chompy trying to grab a hold of them, but just failing to and lifting thin air. Meanwhile, Mingo... trying to get a hold of Chompy and get them into the pit, but Chompy able to reverse away. This is a very close fight, but for all the wrong reasons, really. We're into the final 5 seconds. It's going to go to the judges, and they're going to have a very, very hard time deciding a winner here, because that was very, very close. And both robots bowing to each other at the end. Oh dear, well at least they're gentlemen. So, highlights. Well, that happened. Mingo got a few hits in. That was good. And oh yes, the wing. The wing got pried off. That was severely awesome. And some more nothing going on there. And then some more nothing. And oh, we even finished on some nothing as well. Very close one, this one.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Chompy Evo. And after another close decision, it's the highest seed that scrapes the victory tonight. It's been a grueling night of action with one of the closest fought heats so far, but it was the seeds Chompy, Evo and Mingo who prevailed alongside the stars of tonight, 23 Red. That's all for tonight, but join us next time when the former and current international champions Petunia and Duck start their charge back to the main series summit. For now though, I've been your host David and Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.
Kevin, get stuck so we can reset.
He's got to go.
I can't get over 20 feet. Too many forks. Optimised too far.